How we doing, everybody? This is Splash of Gas with Dave Weichert, a NASCAR and racing podcast. And just like that, it was time to head to the cornfields. After a rare off weekend for all three National Series, O'Reilly and Cup Series would be ready to roll at Iowa Speedway. ARCA would join on the party and start things off Friday evening as Carson Brown and Tristan McKee plus Max Reaves would be ready to battle it out. O'Reilly Series would be the main show on Saturday. Last race's winner, Carson Kvapil, would be ready to keep the momentum going as Jesse Love, Corey Day, Justin Allgaier, and the field look to stop him. Sunday would be the Cup Series turn to go. Ryan Blaney and William Byron look to go back to victory lane out in corn country as Tyler Reddick, Denny Hamlin, Kyle Larson, and the rest look to take the trophy. Yellow flag, green flag, discussions with Dave, Tire Diaries, NASCAR History Time, Paint Scheme of the Week, Fast Davies bets, and predictions for Richmond, plus so much more on this episode of Splash of Gas. As always, we're sponsored by Magical Travel with Dave, aka Disney Dave Weichert, my father. He will be able to help you with all your Disney and Universal vacation needs. He can be reached at DisneyDaveW@Verizon.net. Please make sure you follow all the Splash of Gas social medias for midweek and on-track updates. Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube are all Splash of Gas with Dave Weichert. Now for the ARCA Series recap from Iowa. ARCA will lead things off Friday night out in Iowa. Tristan McKee would win the pole and lead early in the race until Carson Brown gets past him on lap 32. But McKee would get back to the lead quickly. Several restarts would occur throughout the race, and it would be all of the 77 of McKee up front. Final restart would occur with 8 laps to go. McKee and Carson Brown. Again, Tristan would keep it up front on the outside lane, onto victory lane. ARCA West Series shout out. Very exciting finish out in Portland for the ARCA West Series. Sam Corey and Ethan Tovo would tangle from the first and second positions on the final lap. Kyle Steckley and Mason Massey would take their spots, with Steckley leading on the final turn. Steckley would overcook the turn, getting loose, allowing Massey to sneak by and take the win. Shout out to Mason, friend of the podcast. Have had him on several times, always following him, whatever series he's racing. Super exciting to see him nab that win. He was 4th going on the last lap there. Exciting finish in the ARCA West Series. Now for trivia question time. As NASCAR heads to Richmond this coming weekend, this episode's question is, name the winner of the 1960 Cup Series race from Richmond and the winner of the 1961 race from there. Hint, both are in the Hall of Fame, and the 1960 winner is the father of the 61 winner. Also, the 1960 winner won the first ever Cup Series race at Richmond in 1953. Those should be some good hints. Answer at the end. Now for the O'Reilly Series recap. O'Reilly Series will be ready to throw it down Saturday afternoon out in the cornfields. Ryan Sieg would win the pole, and that would be his first pole for the O'Reilly Series veteran. Ryan and Ross Chastain bring the field to green. Sieg quickly to the lead. Only yellow in the first stage flies on lap 27 for spinning Nathan Bird, but that would not stop Sieg. He prevails on the following restart onto the stage 1 win. Sheldon Creed and Sammy Smith restart for the middle stage. Then again on lap 81 after Kyle Sieg spins. Creed again leads but is passed by Justin Allgaier on lap 96 for the top spot. Rest of the stage stays green and is won by Justin Allgaier. Allgaier and Creed restart for the third and final stage. Then cautions breed cautions. race would turn into a little bit of a wreck fest from lap 150 to the restart on lap 201. 5 cautions would fly. Ross Chastain would then be leading with Carson Kvapil behind him in second. 4 laps to go, Jeb Burton has a tire go down and spins, putting the race into overtime. Ross and Carson restart. Ross gets loose, allowing Kvapil to take the lead, but Ryan Sieg and Brent Cruz tangle, wrecking into the field, collecting 9 others. Kvapil and Chastain restart for the second overtime. Who would be ready to take it all? Carson clears and leads. Raja Karuth gets the second. Carson keeps it up front en route to back-to-back wins in the O'Reilly Series for him. Congratulations to Carson and that entire number 1 team. Now for the Cup Series recap. The Cup Series would be ready to go Sunday afternoon. After qualifying, no surprise, Ryan Blaney would win the pole, followed by Kyle Larson, making up the front row, and they take the field to green. The story in practice and qualifying was Denny Hamlin's brakes. Hamlin in the 11 was experiencing brake issues, and one of NASCAR's rules with the next-gen car, you can practically change any part you want on the car besides the brake pads, and NASCAR does allow Hamlin's team to select which brake pads they want to use going into the race, going into the practice and qualifying, and that's where Denny experienced the issue. A lot of talk about this. More on that on Discussions with Dave. Once the green flag dropped, Blaney would lead. Early yellow as Tyler Reddick and Eric Jones tangle, taking both out. Tough one for Jones, who needed a good day to continue his playoff push. Again, Blaney to the front on the ensuing restart and starts to put a gap on the second place driver. Blaney's teammate and Joey Logano works up to the P2 spot, but Ryan Blaney cruises to the Stage 1 win. Blaney and Logano restart for Stage 2. There would be a good amount of action as 3 yellows fly. With 54 laps left in the stage, Christopher Bell will get a run and pass Ryan Blaney. And C. Bell wins Stage 2. Chase Elliott and Ryan Blaney restart for the third and final stage. Blaney leads early, then with 96 laps left to go, Bell would take the top spot away from Blaney. 24 laps later, Ty Gibbs gets past Ryan for second. 59 laps to go, Bell and Gibbs both pit. Then the call of the race by Gibbs' crew chief, Tyler Allen, electing for a 2-tire pit stop as teammate Christopher Bell's crew chief, Adam Stevens, calls for a 4-tire stop. Did Allen know Stevens was going for 4 tires? More on that in DWD. Ty Gibbs would then cycle in front of Bell, and Gibbs would be the first running car of the cars that have taken their final pit stop. Ross Chastain would be the last to come to pit road with 20 laps to go. Ty Gibbs would now lead, and Bell would be close, only being 0.3 seconds behind him. Could C. Bell catch Ty Gibbs? As the laps counted down, Bell would be right on the bumper of Gibbs. Christopher could just not execute the race-winning pass, and Ty Gibbs goes on to win his second race of the season and is victorious out in the cornfields of Iowa. Quick look back at the predictions we made for the weekend. ARCA, Tristan McKee, winner. O'Reilly Series went with Justin Allgaier. He wins Stage 2, but gets caught up in that craziness late, and he finishes 24th. Cup Series, I went with Joey Logano. Fortunately, his team has an issue on pit road. Joey finishes 14th. Yellow flag, green flag, ARCA Series green flag. Tristan McKee, super strong on those restarts, and was able to put that 77 in front of the 28 of Carson Brown. O'Reilly Series yellow flag. Corey Day, tough race for the rookie. He finishes 36th. O'Reilly Series green flag. Ryan Sieg, veteran, gets his first pole and wins Stage 1. He ends up 12th. Cup Series yellow. He does finish 14th, but I felt like Logano had a race-winning car to contend with Ty Gibbs. Logano's crew makes a mistake, and that's racing sometimes, but really think that took away Joey's chance to contend for that one. Cup Series green flag, Josh Berry and the 21 team. Not easy sailing for them this season. Josh pulls off a P4 finish in Iowa. Can he continue that momentum into Richmond? Now for Discussions with Dave, Part 1. Cup Series thoughts. Action early in the race. Tyler Reddick makes a mistake, and not to use the phrase again, but that can be racing sometimes, and he does take out his Toyota teammate of Eric Jones, who, as I mentioned, Jones going into Iowa still on the playoff bubble on the outside looking in, and really need to put down some good finishes in these last final 4 races to have a chance of making the chase. And I started listening to the race on Sunday on the radio. And at first, when I was listening to Reddick's post-race interview, I thought for a second he was criticizing Eric Jones, but he was doing the opposite. Reddick was really being critical of himself, and we've seen Tyler do that. Reddick will take the blame when he knows he's messed up, and he was speaking the honest truth. He really screwed up, and it stinks even more that he took out a Toyota teammate that's really on the brink of making the chase, the playoffs. Of course, Reddick's already clinched into that, and Tyler makes a mistake, and it affects one of the Legacy Motorsport Toyota teammate cars of Eric Jones. We also mentioned the brake issues that Denny Hamlin dealt with in practice and then qualifying. Hamlin qualifies 29th. Denny does work his car up to a 5th place finish. So that team eventually figured something out with the brakes, and Hamlin was critical of NASCAR. I did not realize this, specifically, but it was highlighted with Hamlin's brake issues that on the next gen car, you can practically change anything on the car. NASCAR will not let you change the brake pads. They will, of course, as I mentioned, let you choose which type of brake pads you want to use, but you can't make any changes after qualifying or practice restarts. And Hamlin was trying to say it was a safety issue, but in the end, Denny does come out with, a top 5 finish. And with Denny being a veteran, I'm assuming there was brake issues and he wasn't trying to, play a charade game, right? But how bad could the brakes been if you go on to finish 5th? What could have happened if Hamlin had good brakes or normal brakes, right? Nonetheless, Ty Gibbs, Christopher Bell, late in the race, Joe Gibbs' teammates battling for the race win. Coming into the last pit stop, Ty Gibbs gets in front of Christopher Bell. And that was all created by Gibbs' crew chief, Tyler Allen, making a 2-tire stop. And Christopher Bell's crew chief, Adam Stevens, goes for 4 tires. And that puts Ty in front of the pack that took their last pit stop. Ross Chastain trying to ride it out. He comes to pit road with 20 laps to go. Now Gibbs is leading, and Christopher Bell is hounding him. Right on the bumper of him, Gibbs wins just over a 0.2 second margin. It was 0.3 seconds to less than 0.2 at times, and Bell just could not find a way to get past Ty Gibbs. Bell does find a way to get past him at the end of stage 2, winning it, right? But not when it counted for the race win. But nonetheless, Ty Gibbs gets it done. His 2nd Cup Series win and his 2nd this season. And Ty Gibbs gets his first win earlier this year in Bristol, another short track. That 54 team is making it count and solid on the short tracks. And now Iowa, a lot of talk about the bumps and the surface here. After this race, I believe it was on Monday, construction crews started on the repave of Iowa Motor Speedway. Completely different track, but just as an example, they repaved Atlanta. That racing got, crazy. I mean, in a good way. And then the racing at Iowa, already with the old weathered surface, is really good. What's the repave going to do? Really excited for that in 2027. And it has announced Iowa is going to host the July 4th race weekend for NASCAR. That'll be really exciting. July 4th, right in the heartland. Moving to thoughts on the O'Reilly Series race. And when talking to Carson Kvapil in the past, Kvapil has been honest, who's been in the O'Reilly Series for, 2 full-time seasons now and parts of 3 seasons, right? When I've had Carson on the show, he's been honest that he's been really close to race wins, prior to winning Indy, and he feels like he's right there contending for the wins. And Carson, when we were talking to him after Indianapolis, was talking to him about the race before in Atlanta where he finished second. He felt like he should have won that one. But he makes it happen in Indy. But the win in Iowa was different, right? Double overtime, but Kvapil had, arguably the best car out there throughout the day. And after he won Indianapolis and just being so close, and now with Kvapil being paired with crew chief Rodney Childress for the rest of this season, Kvapil, who has been jumping from different numbers while being able to stay full-time and being able to run for a championship at the O'Reilly level for this season, did feel like it was only a matter of time before the floodgates open with multiple wins, and he gets his first win kissing the bricks in Indy. Then next race in the cornfields of Iowa, Kvapil gets it done. And of course, this is a great time to really heat up going into the final regular season race in 3 weekends in Daytona. And Carson is second in the O'Reilly standings. And this number 1 team is really poised to go on a playoff run. We were just chatting about this next topic on the Cup Series thoughts, and Kyle Petty really emphasized this. Can Christopher Bell eventually make a pass for the win? Iowa was his 7th P2 finish of the year. And as I just mentioned, Christopher Bell is able to get past Ty Gibbs in the middle stage, and Bell wins stage 2. So that car did have juice to it. And as we know, Bell had better tires than Gibbs, but fresher tires, right? But as we saw, the extra tire life did not help Bell in the end. And in my mind, I don't see Christopher Bell as, a choke artist. I don't think he's someone that's regularly letting these races slip away. Bell is right there. He just can't make that final pass, and of course it's his 7th second place finish of the year, so that's kind of highlighted. And nonetheless, Bell is still going to be in the chase, and he's right there, right? So if Bell can put the pieces together and heat up, just like we were just talking on the O'Reilly Series side in regards to Kvapil, but if Bell can heat up in this chase, nail a couple wins, heck, keep going with those P2 finishes, Christopher Bell is going to be right there in the championship. I get Kyle Petty's point, and sometimes Kyle Petty can be a little bit of a shock jock in the sport, and that's great. I'm listening to it. Christopher Bell has still a large portion of his career to go. Kyle Petty has 8 Cup Series wins. Right now, Bell has 13 already, and he has a long time of racing at the Cup Series left in his career. Just food for thought there. Moving right along, Ty Gibbs post-race conference. When Ty Gibbs, earlier this season in April, scored his first Cup Series win in Bristol, Felt like Gibbs's responses were a little bit unique, how he was talking about all the doubters and the haters throughout his career. But I understand it's an emotional moment, of course, with his father passing away a number of years earlier. Ty Gibbs drives his mom to victory lane. That's an emotional moment. So, and when any driver wins his first Cup Series race, you don't know what you're going to get sometimes in the post-race interview. So I gave him a pass card on that one. A lot of people were complaining at Gibbs after Iowa with his post-race media appearance. It was 7 minutes long. And, I watched the highlights of those, of course. But, typically they're, anywhere from 15 at a short end to, upwards of 30 minutes long if the driver goes into detail and more reporters keep asking questions, right? Ty Gibbs's post-race media conference in Iowa was 7 minutes long. And I get it. He wants to be short. I don't really... I guess as a media member, I see how people could be frustrated about that. But when Ty was running in ARCA, Xfinity, sometimes he would hurt himself by saying things in the post-race conference. And maybe did that come to bite him at some points later in those seasons? Yes, I think it did. And I think Ty did learn some lessons about that. And I don't know, not that it was cringy, but Ty Gibbs definitely needs some advice with these post-race conference. I think it's something that, just like anything anyone can do, you can get better at something. And of course, that takes time and practice. So if Ty Gibbs keeps winning these Cup races, is he going to get better with these post-race conferences? Or is he going to turn into a little bit of a villain with the media, kind of like he did when he won his Xfinity championship, O'Reilly championship? We will find out and see which side the writers turn towards. Now for paint scheme of the week, and we are throwing it back to 1967. Richard Petty, his Plymouth Belvedere. Baby blue, classic Richard Petty, light blue paint scheme. The white 43, Plymouth on the bumper, a true stock car. And Petty won 27 races in it that year in 1967, on to his second NASCAR Cup Series championship. Now for NASCAR history time, Richmond. February 21st, 1988. Neil Bonnet captured his 17th Cup Series victory at Richmond. Bonnet's win came in the final Cup Series race on Richmond's original half-mile configuration, a layout that dated back to the track's pre-NASCAR days in 1946. The victory closed the book on nearly a 4-decade history of racing at the half-mile track before it was transformed into the larger 3/4 mile configuration that NASCAR would compete on for years and years to come. It was a fitting end to an important chapter in Richmond's history, with Bonnet adding his name to the record books by winning the final race on that legendary layout. May 3rd, 2008. A heated rivalry between Dale Earnhardt Jr. and Kyle Busch reached a boiling point at Richmond. With just a couple laps remaining, Earnhardt Jr. was leading and appeared headed for a long-awaited victory when Busch made contact with him. Earnhardt's 88 into the wall, opening the door for Clint Bowyer to take the lead and ultimately score the win. Busch held on to second, while Jr. finished 15th. The incident became one of the defining moments of their early rivalry, although both drivers would later look back and agree it was ultimately just one of them racing deals. Now for Discussions with Dave, Part 2. Was announced this week that Dean Thompson would be leaving Sam Hunt Racing in the O'Reilly Series. And for 2027, will be running for Haas factory team. This was a surprise to me. Dean, I believe it's the last 2 or 3 seasons, has been full-time with Sant Hunt, running that Toyota Supra. A middle-of-the-pack team. I believe last year Dean had a Stage 1 win, or won the stage wins at Rockingham, but, you can get in the top 10, top 15 regularly when they're running good. The reason why I'm surprised is the results by Dean. It's not like he's blowing it out of the water and contending for race wins regularly, and that's fine. Not every team, not every driver is in that race-winning equipment week in and week out. On the flip side, it does make sense for Haas factory team. Yes, going from Stort Haas, now Haas factory team. It's different. It's not everyone from Stort Haas, and they're kind of, in some aspects, starting from scratch. So bringing in a veteran driver like Dean Thompson is probably just going to hopefully elevate your program. It's not like you're starting off with a rookie. Dean has a lot of seat time on the O'Reilly level. So, am I surprised a little bit? Yes. Do I see why it makes sense for Haas factory team? Yes, I do. More 2027 silly season news on the O'Reilly side. This driver is staying put, and that's William Sawalich with Joe Gibbs Racing. He will be in their O'Reilly program for 2027. Saw William nab his first O'Reilly win earlier this year at Rockingham. When William was coming up in the ARCA series, you heard his name a lot, then linked with Joe Gibbs, of course. I almost thought he could be a prospect, maybe similar to the lines of Connor Zilic, and get the cup pretty quickly, but he's still a young driver, still learning, running full-time for Joe Gibbs, and next year would be his 3rd full-time season with Gibbs, and does seem like that Sawalich has some really sound partners behind him in his corner as well. As we know, those keep the wheels churning. And moving right along in DWD, Corey Heim will never be the NASCAR Rookie of the Year. Let me explain. Going into the 2026 NASCAR Cup season, Connor Zilic was the only true rookie full-time in the series, and Corey Heim running a 10-race schedule. In 2027, of course, will be full-time with 2311. But Heim already winning 2 Cup Series races on a part-time schedule. You would think he would be the foot in for the Rookie of the Year. Truck Series Championship in 2025 kind of makes sense, especially after winning the Brickyard 400. NASCAR's Vice President, Mike Ford, has recently came out and said that Cup Series drivers, to be eligible for Rookie of the Year, can have no more than 12 starts prior to the season they want to declare for Rookie of the Year. It is 10 starts in O'Reilly and 8 in the Craftsman Truck Series. A driver is not eligible upon entering a new series and running full-time for the first time. A team must apply for a driver to be Rookie of the Year contender, and NASCAR will, of course, consider that request. Heim has made 15 starts in the Cup Series since 2024, has 4 more starts left on his schedule for this season. Ford also revealed that Heim could have competed for Rookie of the Year this year, but in the end, he did not apply for it. And yes, the closer we get to the end of the season, and a handful of races before the regular season ends and onto the chase, people are going to start talking about the postseason awards. And of course, his rookie year for Connor Zilic has been tough sledding for him. And Corey Heim, not that he's, of course, yes, he's competing in the race against Connor Zilic, but it's not like that they have a rivalry or a feud, and Heim has more NASCAR experience in different series combined than Connor Zilic, of course. But yellow flag to NASCAR. If you're running a 10-race schedule, why at the beginning of the year would you apply for Rookie of the Year when, at that time wasn't set in stone to the public, but all signs pointing that Corey Heim would be running with 2311 full-time in 2027. NASCAR should make a change and let Heim be eligible for the Rookie of the Year, as I think he truly deserves it. But I don't think my mind is going to change the decision of NASCAR, and those are the guidelines that they have set for Rookie of the Year, and sounds like moving forward. More schedule news on DWD, O'Reilly Series, and Cup Series will be returning to Dover Motor Speedway for a points race for each of them in 2027. As we know, this past year, Dover, the Cup Series, hosted the All-Star race, also ran the trucks, and O'Reilly Series there. I was totally a critic of the All-Star race going to Dover. Dover is a track that, with the concrete surface and the tire wear, 300, 350 laps in, and then to the end of the typical 400 laps ran there. That's where the racing really gets exciting, and what a Dover Cup race should consist of. And that's what it's going to be in 2027. 400-mile points race for the Cup Series, 400 laps at the Monster Mile. I did just criticize NASCAR for how they handled the Rookie of the Year situation with Corey Heim, but green flag to NASCAR on this one. Thank you for bringing back a points-paying race to Dover. Should be a great 400 laps next year in May in Delaware. And that wraps up this episode's edition of Discussions with Dave. Now for Tire Diaries for Richmond. The Cup Series will run a familiar Goodyear tire setup at Richmond this weekend, with the same left and right side tires that were used at Martinsville and North Wilkesboro as most recently as last month. This short track tire setup made its debut in Martinsville last fall and is designed to offer increased grip and lap time fall off over the course of a run. The right side tires have also been used at Bowman Gray and Phoenix this year. The Truck Series, who will be running Friday night, they're going to run the same left side and right side tire combinations they used at North Wilkesboro and at IRP. Both teams in the series, because the track is less than a mile, will have wet weather tires from Goodyear available if the weather conditions require them. Now the drivers to look out for the Truck Series race from Richmond. Starting off with Virginia native Connor Hall. We know how good Hall can be in the super late model. Can he run that Nice number 4 truck up front at Richmond? I sure think so. Corey Heim won the Richmond truck race last year. Shane Van Gisbergen is running the number 7 Spire truck. Great to see Shane in a truck. I think he can contend for a win. He's getting better at the ovals. Think the Truck Series, with how big of a punch aero-wise the trucks pack, which is comparable to the Cup Series, which drivers have said before. Think Shane will have a top 5 run in Richmond. Got Caden Honeycutt, of course, the cream of the crop on the Tricon side. Another Virginia native Langley Speedway guy, just like Connor Hall. That's Brendan Butterbean Queen. Giovanni Ruggiero, another young gun from the Tricon stables. You got Tyler Ankrum. Ankrum was running up front at Richmond last year. He finished a little bit farther back in 11th. Elliott Sadler, veteran in the Cup Series, is hopping in the All-Star 25 truck for Colleague Racing. Great to see Elliott back behind the wheel of a NASCAR. Of course, Lane Riggs, the guy that won the last race at IRP in his front row 34. And his front row teammate, Chandler Smith, who won at North Wilkesboro. Nice Motorsports, think the 45 of Landon Lewis can get into the top 5 and maybe even can contend at the end. Christopher Bell's running the second Hallmark Friesen truck in the 62. Tristan McKee, the youngster, running the 77 out of Spire Motorsports stable. Tristan is making his Truck Series debut. We just talking about Tristan winning the ARCA race last weekend out in Iowa. Ty Majeski running the 88 for ThorSport. Ty was second to Corey Heim last year. And shout out to Splash of Gas driver in the Costner Motorsports 93 with Splash of Gas on the side, Caleb Costner. Best of luck to Caleb and that 93 team. Now the drivers to look out for: Cup Series from Richmond. Cup Series will be running a Saturday night special, running Saturday night out in Richmond. We start with the guy that has won at Richmond the last 3 years, and that's Austin Dillon. Can Dillon nab 3 Richmond trophies in a row? We'll find out. I also think Dillon's teammate in Austin Hill in the 33 will have a solid run. Alex Bowman came in second this race. Will he be the top Hendrick driver? I think Kyle Larson will get into that mix too. Team Penske should be quick. Ryan Blaney, Joey Logano, Austin Cindric finish third, fourth, and fifth. Think Team Penske is going to have a good day. Daniel Suarez and Josh Berry each should be quick. And don't forget about Denny Hamlin. Then, of course, got the Toyotas, Ty Gibbs, Christopher Bell. They just were first and second out in Iowa. I think they'll continue that momentum as well. Now for Fast AV's bets. Truck Series, Connor Hall. Give me a top 5 for him. Cup Series Fast AV's bets. Austin Hill, top 10 is plus 1,000. I think that's solid too. Now for trivia answer time. As mentioned earlier, this episode's question is: NASCAR heads to Richmond this coming weekend. Name the winner of the 1960 Cup Series race from Richmond and the winner of the 1961 race from Richmond. Hint, both are in the Hall of Fame, and the 1960 winner from Richmond is the father of the 61 winner. Also, the winner of 1960, won the first ever NASCAR Cup Series race at Richmond in '53. The answers are Lee and Richard Petty. Now for our predictions for Richmond Truck Series. Can anyone stop Lane Riggs? I just don't think so, and I don't even think Corey Heim in that Tricon truck will be able to stop him. Cup Series predictions. I think we will see some names contending that we typically don't see up front week in, week out. Give me the number 5 team of Kyle Larson to win Friday night out in Virginia. As always, we're sponsored by Magical Travel with Dave, aka Disney Dave Weichert, my father. He will be able to help you with all your Disney and Universal vacation needs. He can be reached at DisneyDaveW@Verizon.net. Please make sure you follow all the Splash of Gas social medias for midweek and on-track updates. Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube are all Splash of Gas with Dave Weichert. Hope everyone has a chance to watch some of the racing out in Richmond this weekend and enjoys another great summer weekend as well. Till next time, everybody, Splash of Gas out.